Okay, Watership Down Part 2 from Richard Adams. One of my all-time favorite books. This is an auto book and commentary by yours truly. And maybe the other grumpy old guy might throw his 2 cents in. Maybe. Anyway, this is called The Chief Rabbit. Part 2, The Chief Rabbit. Oh boy. In the darkness and warmth of the burrow, Hazel suddenly woke, struggling and kicking with his back legs. Something was attacking him. There was no smell of a ferret or a weasel. No instinct told him to run. His head cleared. He realized he was alone except for Fiber. It was Fiber who was clambering over him, clawing and grabbling like a rabbit trying to climb a wire fence in a panic. Fiber, wake up, you silly fellow. It's Hazel. You're hurting me. You'll hurt me in a moment. Wake up. He held him down, and Fiber struggled and woke. Oh, Hazel, I was dreaming. It was dreadful. You were there. We were sitting on water, going down a great deep stream, and then I realized we were on a board, like that board in the field, all white and covered with black lines. There was other rabbits there, bucks and does. But when I looked down, I saw the board was all made of bones and wire. I screamed, and you said, swim, everybody swim. Then I was looking for you everywhere and trying to drag you out of a hole in the bank. I found you, and you said the chief rabbit must go alone, and you floated away down a dark tunnel of water. Well, you've hurt my ribs anyway. Tunnel of water indeed. What rubbish. Can we go back to sleep now? Hazel, the danger, the bad thing, it hasn't gone away. It's here, all around us. Don't tell me to forget about it and go to sleep. We got to go away before it's too late. Go away? From here, you mean? The Warren? Yes, very soon. It doesn't matter where. Just you and I. No, everyone. The whole Warren? Don't be silly. They won't come. They'll think you're out of your wits. Then they'll be here when the bad thing comes. You must listen to me, Hazel. Believe me, something very bad is close upon us, and we ought to get away. Well, I suppose we better go see the Chief Rabbit, and you could tell him about it. Or I'll try to, but I won't expect he will like the idea at all. The Chief Rabbit, huh? Okay. That, I guess we assume that's the guy in charge of the whole thing. Yeah. Would you call him the Emperor of Dirt?
Yeah, Emperor Dirt.
Yeah. Wow.
Emperor Butters.
Wow. Okay. Hazel led the way down the slope of the run and up toward the bramble curtain. He did not want to believe Fiber, and he was afraid not to. It was a little before Nile Frith, or noon. Frith is the sun god they supposedly they revere, and they call the afternoon Frith. The whole Warren was underground, mostly asleep. Hazel and Fiber went a short way above ground into the wide open hole in a sand patch, and so down by various runs until they were 30 feet into the wood, among the roots of an oak. Here they were stopped by a large, heavily built rabbit, one of the Ausla, the military guys, the neo-Nazis.
Yep.
He had a curious growth of fur on the crown of his head. I'll demonstrate with my... There you go. Which gave him an odd appearance, as though he's wearing some sort of cap, or some kind of cap. This had given him his name, Thalelai, which means literally furhead, or we might say bigwig. Hazel, said Bigwig, sniffing at him in the deep twilight amongst the tree roots. It is Hazel, isn't it? What are you doing here? And at this time of day, he ignored Fiber, who was waiting further down the run. We want to see the Chief Rabbit, said Hazel. It's important, Bigwig. Can you help us? We, said Bigwig. Is he going to see him too? Yes, he must. Do trust me, Bigwig. I don't usually come and talk like this, do I? When did I ever ask to see the Chief Rabbit before? Well, I'll do it for you, Hazel, although I'll probably get my head bitten off. I'll tell him I know that you're a sensible fellow. He might ought to know you himself, of course, but he's getting old. Wait here, will you? Bigwig went a little way down the run and stopped at an entrance of a large burrow. After speaking a few words that Hazel could not catch, he was inevitably called inside. The two rabbits waited in silence, broken only by the continual nervous fidgeting of Fiber. Well, that sure doesn't give a good impression, does it? Going,
Yeah. Say, hey, boss, I hate to break up your nap, but...
yeah, I hate to wake you up, boss, but you got to see this fuck up.
You're not really a fuck up, you're just a yearling.
Now, the Chief Rabbit name and style was Thirera, which means Lord Rolling Tree. For some reason, he's always referred to as the Thirera. Perhaps because it happened to be the only one Thirera or Roland near the Warren, which he took his name. He had won his position not only by strength in his prime, but also by his level-headedness and certain self-contained detachment. Quite unlike the impulsive behavior of most rabbits. It was well known that he never let himself become excited by rumor or danger. He had coolly, and some even said coldly, stern firm against the terrible onslaught of what the hell is that? Minoxmonosis? Huh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just spell it out. Myxomatois.
Noxus.
Okay. Ruthlessly driving out every rabbit who seemed to be sickened. He had resisted all ideas of mass immigration and forced complete isolation on the Warren, thereby almost certainly saving it from extinction. It is he, too, that has once dealt with the particularly troublesome Stoat by leading it down among the peasant coops, and so, at the risk of his own life, into the keeper's gun. He is now, as Bigwig said, getting old, but his wits were still clear enough. When Hazel and Fiber was brought in, he greeted them politely. Alza, like Toadflex, might threaten and bully, but the Thirera had no need. Ah, Walnut. It is Walnut, isn't it? Hazel, said Hazel. Ah, Hazel, of course. Very nice to see you come and see me. I knew your mother well. And your friend? My brother. Your brother, said the Thirera with the slightest suggestion of, don't correct me anymore, will you? In his voice. Do make yourselves comfortable. Have some lettuce. The Chief Rabbit's lettuce is stolen by the Owlslop. from a garden half a mile away across the fields. Outskirters seldom or never saw lettuce. Hazel took a small leap and nibbled it politely. Fiber refused, sat blinking and twitching miserably. Now, how are things with you? Said the Cheap Rabbit. Do tell me how I can help you. Well, sir, said Hazel, it's because of my brother, Fiber here. He can often tell when something bad is about. I found him right time and again. He knew of the flood that was coming last autumn, and sometimes he can tell where a wire's been set. And now he says he senses a great danger coming upon the warren. A bad danger, you say? I see. How very upsetting, said the Cheap Rabbit, looking anything but upset. Now, what sort of danger, I wonder? He looked at Fiber. I don't know, said Fiber, but it's bad. It's bad. It is so bad that it's very bad, he concluded miserably. The Thero waited patiently for a few moments, and then he said, Well now, what do we ought to do about it, I wonder? Go away, said Fiber instantly. Go away. All of us, now, Thero, sir, we must all go away. The Thero waited again, and then in an extremely understanding voice, he said, Well, I never did. That's rather a tall order, isn't it? What do you think yourself? Well, sir, said Hazel, my brother doesn't usually think about these feelings he gets. He just has the feelings, if you see what I mean. I'm sure you're the right person to decide what we ought to do. Well, that's very nice of you to say that. I hope I am. But now, my dear fellows, let's just think about this for a moment, shall we? It's May, isn't it? Everyone busy, and most of the rabbits are enjoying themselves. No evil, you guys remember, no enemies, for miles, so they tell me. No illness, good weather, and you want me to tell the whole warren that this younger brother of yours here has got a hunch that we all must go tramp-a-dowsing across the country to goodness knows where, and the risk of the consequences, eh? What do you think they would say? All delighted, eh? Well, they'll take it from you, says Fiber. That's very nice of you, said the Thera again. Well, perhaps they would. But I should have to consider it very carefully indeed. Most serious step, of course. And then, but there's no time, Thera, sir, blurted out Fiber. I can feel the danger like a wire around my neck. Like a wire. Hazel, help! And he squealed and rolled around in the sand, kicking frantically as rabbits do in a snare. Hazel held him down with both forepaws, and he grew quieter. Awful sorry, Cheap Rabbit, said Hazel. He gets like this sometimes. He'll be all right in a minute. What a shame. What a shame. Poor fellow. Perhaps he ought to go home and rest. Yes, and you better take him along now. Well, it's really extremely good of you to come and see me, Walnut. I appreciate it very much indeed. And I shall think it over what you said most carefully. And you can be quite sure of that. Bigwig, wait a moment, will you? And as Hazel and Fiber made their way dejectedly down the run outside the Thero's barrel, they can just hear from inside the chief rabbit's voice assuming a rather sharper note, interspersed and with an occasional, "Yes, sir." "No, sir." "Yes, sir." Bigwig, as he predicted, was getting his head bitten off. That is the end of part 2 of Watership Down. Are there any thoughts about this?
Yeah, it's called wasting the boss's time.
Mm-hmm.
They did not plan their interview right. It went on emotion.
They didn't formulate a plan, yeah.
They didn't formulate a plan. Did not have a proposal. And did not tell the boss details.
Mm-hmm.
This boss, from what we were told, likes details. He wants to know a plan. He executes that plan when he knows the plan. And he's fearless about it. But he doesn't like his time wasted. And he's getting old, so he's cranky. He's tired. He expects his Owlslaw to perform their duties on the nose. And first thing in the morning, on a Monday morning probably, in walk 2 outskirters because the Owlslaw on guard duty lets them in. So he humors them. And what did he get? A lot of screaming and crying first thing in the morning.
From 2 guys you don't even know. You can't even pronounce his name. His name is Hazley. Kept calling him Walnut.
Yeah. Knew his mother well. Well, that's probably his dad. But, being Chief Rabbit, lots of girlfriends.
Yeah. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was part 2 of this audio book reading. Hope you all enjoyed the additional adult commentary on this thing. So, we will go on to part 3 and find out if Bigwig survived getting his his head bitten off.